So to kick off, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through some stats on what I see in the AI market in 2020. So a lot of these stats were compiled pre-COVID, so you kind of need to bear with me perhaps a little. I'll also give you my view of what I think's happening. It's my view, so parts of it you might agree with, and parts you might not, which is okay. So the headline news is by 2025, the AI software market will reach approximately 126 billion, which is huge. And interestingly, fitting with today's theme, roughly equates to 274 Cristiano Ronaldos, give or take a few dollars between friends. So this is based on Cristiano worth a ridiculous amount, which is $460 million, based on a number of media reports, which I've kind of read. I'm sure there's probably a few different ones here and there. So what we're going to do today is explore some of the AI stats and have a bit of fun to see if there's any link between the similarities of the worlds of Cristiano Ronaldo and AI. Perhaps I've stayed indoors too long, but let's have a bit of fun and see how it goes. And also, there's a good number of GIFs widely available on the internet. Some of them you might see within this presentation. So what we're going to explore is questions like, what is going on in the AI market? How do we make AI projects successful? Why isn't my AI sales worth 126 billion or even close? And then maybe we'll try and address some of these errors. And I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. Something a bit different rather than just a standard presentation that we tend to get, just a little bit deeper. I've got a number of really nice stats to give you. So if you look at the left-hand side of the slides, it shows the huge growth in the worldwide market, and much of it in the Far East and mainly China and India. But if you look at the right-hand part of the slide, we kind of start to get a hint of some of the understandings of the use cases that AI is actually being addressed on. So we can all kind of agree that I suppose the potential for AI to drive revenue and profit and growth is pretty huge. So marketing, customer service, and sales were identified as the top three functions for AI to possibly realize its full potential, according to a lot of surveys. So to realize this potential to grow revenues, profits, and firm value, businesses in every industry have announced AI-focused initiatives. So they're everywhere. We see a lot of talk of it all over the web and a lot of discussions. So spending on AI and software will top 125 billion, as I mentioned before, by 2025, as AI starts to weave into AI, they put AI and machine learning tools into all their business processes. So investors have poured more than 5 billion into, I think it's 1,400 AI-fueled sales and technology companies to meet this demand. So today's execs feel like the pace of AI, which is absolutely huge, which has been really been overstated, and the challenges have been understated, and that's kind of my main perception of what's going on. But I think there's a perception of hype, and the speed of education is still a problem. So AI is still working today in many business applications, but more a matter of managers tasked with harnessing the power of AI that don't really have the experience and frameworks to understand it. And most look at big data as adoption as the ongoing challenge, and only a third really have got to actually data-driven organizations at all. So other firms look to cite people as a process challenge as the biggest barrier to becoming data-driven organizations too. So it's not exactly simple, and we're seeing lots of businesses in the US, in Europe, and the China are actually deploying AI and are still ramping up their exploratory phases within AI. So the average number of AI projects is expecting to grow from 10 this year by 10 to 4, and then it increased to 35 over the coming years. So it really is an absolute growth area. So all in all consideration, the AI market certainly exists. It's definitely out there, and it's definitely growing, and the stats are really quite impressive. So talking of impressive stats, let's just bring it back to my friend Ronaldo. So in my opinion, most people, if you're not even into football, you're very much so aware of Ronaldo. He's one of the most talented players perhaps of all time. So I've picked out what I see as some of the more interesting stats about him. In a similar way to my previous slides, they're pretty impressive. But if you think Messi might be better, I'm happy to have that debate over a beer, perhaps on another day. That's perfectly fine. But also, although it's kind of a little bit difficult to see through all the stats and how this can actually be relevant to AI, there are a number of items to highlight. Ronaldo certainly has a natural talent, but for Ronaldo to get to a top of his game, he needs to train obsessively. He was the first Manchester United player to have his own chef to ensure that he's supplying his body with the correct nutrients and to peak ignition. And the reason why I've chosen Ronaldo for this particular focus is obviously we were having a Euro 2020 theme. In 2016, of course, he was the captain of the winning Portugal team, lifting the trophy despite being injured. Which brings me on to me what I think, in my opinion, is the story of Ronaldo's most impressive victory. So Ronaldo had been in good form, enabling Portugal to get to the final, but it was very unusual. After 45 minutes, Ronaldo had to come off due to injury and was not able to play any further part in the match. But more importantly, the team was still able to secure victory where Ronaldo was effectively coaching from the sidelines. An amazing effort. I'm sure you'd probably agree if you can actually see it. So Portugal had never won a trophy previously, hence Ronaldo's reference to many years of sacrifice, showing that we don't always win, and sometimes when we do, it can actually come in the least unexpected way. So if we bring it back to AI, as we know, AI is certainly not magic and takes real effort to make successful projects. So for me, there's 3 areas that we kind of need to tackle. So there's data. There's data certainly isn't just a key ingredient for a successful AI project. From my point of view, it is the ingredient. One of the big problems that a lot of organizations face is trying to use AI is knowing the data. And data really is the foundation, the fuel for everything in AI. Much like Ronaldo with his very strict diet, to get the best results, you really need to supply the right inputs. Good data, and lots of it, is needed to train models, and then a steady stream of new good data is then needed to continue with the resulting AI. So you can actually get the processes to actually do the work, what you need to do. So other elements is talent. So you can imagine that in a cutting edge, fast-paced, constantly changing area like AI, potential employees would require skill sets and experience are pretty rare. So with AI property on the rise, these people are in really high demand. So I'm really glad to have people like Tom and Ed on the call. But this is just the actual talent-related factors. There's also such areas as company culture and organisation silos, which also produce problems when it comes to AI adoption. So finally, there's trust. It's critical to ensure that AI recommendation decisions are absolutely fully traceable. Enterprise must be able to audit the lineage of the models and associated training data along with the inputs and outputs of each AI recommendation. As AI gets more advanced and humans and AIs start to really entwine, it's essential that we kind of entrust the outputs of these systems to inform our decisions. And the one way we can do that is look to be able to explain these actions, which for me is explainable AI. And we depend on the explainability as a basis for that relationship with AI. And only then we'll actually be able to trust it. So if you've seen over the last couple of slides that I've done, the slides are the impressive, it's absolutely huge market, but it is big, but there's a massive big but. It can be very complex and really difficult to have a successful project. So I've picked out what I see as the major hurdles to address from my point of view. So the first one is shiny things disease. I think we probably certainly see this a lot of this in the data center market, but I think in the AI market it's potentially worse. So a lot of digital journeys begin with the technology first orientation, going deep into the solutions capabilities, confirming what machining libraries you're going to use and all that kind of stuff. Instead, perhaps we should focus on the business elements it actually wants to address, and then identify those, and then get the objectives and then drive and inform these, and then what it'll be able to identify what digital transformation and interventions you actually need to pursue using the AI. So many leaders kind of get unclear about this, and then they won't be able to see where AI is best leveraged in actual their organization. So you kind of need to work closely with these businesses to identify where AI might actually solve an existing problem or focus on an area where others found AI to be valuable, like marketing, financial planning, or risk analysis could be a good place to start. So the second thing on my list is insufficient data training. So AI solutions do require meaningful labeled trainer data sets to achieve desired outcomes. So often we find that a lack of availability data for training is a key reason for failure. So depending on the type of AI being applied, this can be for anything from millions of data examples to none at all. So a real difference. So again, more data problems. So garbage in, garbage out still applies. The most enterprises very much so underestimate the importance of quality data. They have such poor data governance and poor data hygiene practices that result in data is just completely suspect, duplicated, or could be somewhere completely else where you wouldn't expect it to be. So, and with this, you end up with a risk arising from skewed data samples. You end up with a very tilted point of view of what you are. But essentially, AI systems are only learn what they're fed, and there's always a risk of human biases being learned from basically slightly dodgy data in effect. So really, data management in governments, it needs to be developed, and a central repository needs to be aimed for, and that is kind of mandatory to making it all work. So the fourth item on the list is underestimating the related culture change. So according to a lot of reports, the cultural impact of introducing AI to both customers and employees has been massively underestimated. So perhaps we should look to create programs to increase these employee understanding and skills to increase actual acceptance and engagements of what it is and what it's going to be. Because a lot of people see AI as a threat. Is that a threat to my job? Is that a threat to what I do? Is it going to help me? Is it going to make my life better? And a lot of these items aren't really explained as much. We're just going to think, well, it's going to make us more efficient. Well, that's great. You need much more than that. So without having it well thought out, and change management still basically look at them with real suspicion and then dampen the AI project completely. And it makes it really difficult to say, well, this is the genuine output that we should be aiming for. So the fifth element on this is very much so more a case of that. So the black box effect. So if, for example, some organizations must trust AI systems to make a critical decision or prediction, but they have to understand how the system works. And that is really essential. So explainable AI should be the aim, but that isn't easy at all. Because if you're using a neural-based network, that's almost near on impossible in some ways. So you've got to try and understand how those predictions are actually made, and only then will we actually be able to trust it. So the sixth item on the list is misaligned business priorities. So a lot of AI projects are deployed to address a problem that's not aligned with the business objectives at all. They're usually addressing something underwhelming or something tiny, and it's not really making the impact it should be. Instead, we should look to identify meaningful business problems and then see what upside that would actually have by sustainable data. And of course, number seven, you'd expect to see a lot of architectural complexity. AI applications rely on such different process architectures, but they're expected to move away from proprietary stacks and then start to begin an open software development kits and using API for approaches for the tools. But however, now it can be a bit of a stumbling block. And number 8, the final one on my list. So as you'd expect, AI is very much so in demand. There's a huge amount of hype about it, and the requirement for the right skills is difficult to achieve. So one of the main survey points that it comes up time and time again is that there is a shortage of skills, and that is one of the number one obstacles for deployment of AI. So firms need multidisciplinary talent to be able to drive an AI initiatives, and it's not just about one person, it's about a whole team, a whole way of working. So you need the expertise to extract, clean, model, and analyze the data, and then of course for what I need from my point of view is you need to evangelize about the AI and actually drive user adoption. That's really one of the key points to get back into the business to actually be able to do that. But the move by vendors towards automating more of the machine learning models has started to relieve some of the issues. But in the meantime, a lot of companies are still looking to reskill application developers into machine learning skills as a potential solution. But it's still early days in AI. We still need to have more of a model around it. So as we can see, it's not all plain sailing. But as Ronaldo's in Portugal's victory in Euro 2016, as we saw in my previous slides, not all failure is bad. So it can come in the most unexpected ways. So perhaps starting small, failing fast, and scaling robustly to apply AI might be a way to go. And to implement the innovation platform, organizations will need to advance through a series of steps. So they need to kind of define an AI strategy to drive change. And we need to make sure that we still have a flexibility to an innovation platform to make it actually successful. So how do we get started? So first off, need to develop an AI-enabled business strategy. First, the vision needs to come from the absolute top with cleared desired business outcomes and focus on going through the organization from top to bottom. And then what you need to do is look to bring the focus back to data. Of course, data is absolute paramount to everything that we do, but every enterprise has some data that is clean and useful. We can't let poor data quality or quantity to be an excuse to put off the start of the journey to AI. So instead, perhaps we should start with the data that we have and then use AI as a catalyst for investing in solid data platform that brings together more of that from public or internal data to be able to drive much broader data sets, and then it'll enable our training to go much further, and then we'll be able to scale quicker. So, and then what we need to do is be able to move quickly from strategy to execution. Why not pick a starting point that makes sense for an organization and your business objective? Execute it quickly, show results, and then you'll earn the right to scale. And then you'll be able to communicate with a stakeholder what you can actually see. And then you'll be able to build a path to scale with the appropriate skills and change management practices. You'll be able to scale by building the team and the skills required from growth leverage through AI, through internal hires and use of strategic partners, while practicing good stakeholder cultural change management in order to execute the business transformation mandates set out by the leadership. So strategic partners very much so can be the way forward, whether it be in a skill or a given platform. Indeed, very much so anything, as you can see on the right part of the slide, risks organizations remaining in the hype of the previous few years and missing the opportunity to realize full potential of enterprise-grade AI. And talking about platform and a strategic partner, note, this is the only product slide in my whole deck, but it is important. IBM has been pioneering data science and AI for many a year now. And IBM have the #1 offering in data and AI. IBM's data science is Repay, but if you'd like to find out more, please let me know, and I'm sure we can look to run certain sessions. They are very much so a topic on their own, but for me, this is kind of a slide to look at, showing IBM's leadership, and the tools that IBM offer for me are very creative and very interesting. So before I wrap up, I hope you kind of enjoyed this kind of quick 20 minutes dip into my world of AI stats and Ronaldo. There are lots of kind of interesting stats on here, but perhaps to be successful in AI, we need to consider quite a range of items such as data, talent, and trust. Should we be a little data obsessed? Perhaps, but we need to ensure that we can apply creative thinking to our processes. So from my point of view, is best summed up in this white box. I didn't write this myself, by the way. It was something that I saw and I thought it was really relevant. The best ideas in the world are forward-looking and are usually only data-related. The best ideas are rooted in history, but envision a better future. Finally, do we think there are some likenesses to Ronaldo's story? Possibly. There certainly are some key items in there. Or maybe perhaps I've stayed indoors too long. Maybe if we put ourselves in the right position and in the right team and supply ourselves with the best fuel, train a lot and add in some talent, we will perhaps be AI winners too. Thank you.